love to hear about the waterfront stuff because I mentioned to you before we started, we're doing a development called Mountain Fork Resort. It's a riverfront, waterfront development in a vacation rental spot that's here in Southeast Oklahoma. And I think you've got a ton of knowledge there. So maybe just tell me about what you've done and just give me some advice, give me some knowledge on things that we should be thinking about.
Yeah, well, what I might be tempted to forget about, Max, is what we're doing currently with similar land. And we are actually investing in, just to be clear, I'm not the developer or the operator, but our fund invests in great real estate, or what we think are great real estate deals with who we think are great operators. I say it that way because my compliance people are listening and they're always hate it when I make absolute statements.
Yeah.
But at any rate, we're investing in RV parks, and I really, really, wonder if you look at the supply and demand in the RV parks, how they're doing, especially around lakes and riverfront, and taking some waterfront, but then a whole lot of off water. Well, that off water can be leveraged by the small amount of waterfront. You get a beach, you get a boat dock, you might have a marina or a big docking area, and then you can have 100 acres of off-water land that's otherwise not always that valuable. At least in my
Right.
area, it's not. I mean, uh, anyway, so an RV park, I think, is a great idea, something you may want to consider. I've got a
Well,
special report on my website about RV park investing.
we've got a 42-acre tract that's kind of like what you described. That we've got our main phase one. It's like 90 acres, and we got a 42-acre tract that only has like 400 feet of riverfront, so it's not as much, but
Yeah.
it's still a really cool track. And we've just kind of held it back. All the utilities run right by it, and we've kicked around the idea of either like RV or like a mix between RV, maybe some tiny home cabin
Yeah.
things, but just
Oh, yeah.
creating more of an experience there and doing kind of an owned and operated play for that. But it's kind of in phase two. So it's interesting to hear you say that because we've definitely thought about it.
Yeah, there's like four types of RV parks. Without getting into all those details, I'll just tell you one of them is a destination park, and that would be a park that had its own water park, a $2 or $3 million water park, and maybe a big fishing lake, and maybe a swimming lake, and maybe little paddle boats and golf carts and putt putt golf and a drive-in theater and a human foosball table and treasure hunts and all this stuff. Well, the budget on some of those is in the 10 to 20 million range. And so it's a heavy lift, and it's also heavy staffing to run it, but they are so profitable when they work.
Yeah, for sure. Well, we went to one in similar to that. It's called like, the Yogi Berra franchise.
Yes, I do.
I think they're franchised. We went to one of them here in Oklahoma at Lake Eufaula. My kids loved it. They had a bunch of inflatables in the water and like little putt putt golf and things like that. And it was a lot of fun. So I think looked like it was doing pretty well.
Yeah, so that's one thing I would recommend for waterfront. The other thing is, so going back 19 years, in 2004, we noticed that at Smith Mountain Lake, which is the Lake Tahoe of the East, but far lesser known, Smith Mountain Lake has 520 miles of waterfront. It has mountains all around it. It's got zigzagging coves, and it's just a beautiful place. And it's 2 hours from Raleigh, 4 hours from DC or less. And it's in a beautiful but still remote location. So we started noticing that a lot of the lots that had been $3,000 to $5,000 in the 60s might have sold for 20 to 50,000 in the 70s and 80s, might have sold for in the 100 to 150,000 range in the 90s. Well, now it's 2004, and these lots were like going up by 100,000 a year, up to 3, 4, 5, 600,000. So we started buying some of these really overgrown, nasty, but really well located lots. We would clear them out, turn it into looking more like a golf course. Well, not quite, but you get the idea. We would get a dock permit. We might even expand the dock if there's a dock there. We would put a park bench on it, a huge, 4x8 sign facing the water. And just by holding these for 6 months while we were doing those improvements, the price of the lot might have gone up 50,000 just by itself without us doing anything. And then we put it on the MLS, and we were selling these for, $100,000 profit. maybe $150,000 profit. One time we tore down a house, this massively huge house that was honestly super ugly. We
Yeah.
tore it down and we created 2 lots out of it. Another time I took well, I won't get into all that. Another time I took a 5.5 acre tract and cut it into 5 1 acre lots. And that was, I mean, we bought it for like 650,000 and sold the 5 lots combined right in the heart of the Great Recession in 2008. Still doubled our money on that. So